guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back, and if you are brand new, I am very excited you decided to join me here today for another speed build, and we are back in Newcrest to finish up this street of farmhouses. So this actually pretty much completes one entire street, one entire portion of Newcrest, and I am so happy about it. It was really fun to do because this whole entire street, basically my idea was that they were older farmhouses. Some have been completely renovated and they're brand new, crisp, clean, a little bit modernized. Some of them are still a little bit older. Maybe they were transformed from a barn or something like that, or they were literally just the original structure that still stands. So that was kind of my idea. So if you guys haven't seen my other farmhouse builds, I'll actually link them in the description below, just because this is kind of an entire series, I guess. Like I said, this entire street is farmhouses. This entire part of Newcrest is kind of like the older farmhouse neighborhood, I guess you could say. So I had the grandparents' farmhouse, which was probably one of my very first builds on the channel, which was super funny because I didn't do a voiceover. That was before I even had my microphone, so it was just to music, and basically I ran out of music to use for builds. So that's why I started to do voiceovers, on top of the fact that I really wanted an outlet to explain why I made the decisions I did when I was making my builds, because I could talk about them all day long to maybe like my friends and family, and they're wonderful and they listen and they entertain, they humor me, I should say, and they're great, but it's really fun to share those thoughts and kind of that planning process with people that also enjoy doing this. So that's pretty much why I made the channel in the first place. But anyways, there's the grandparents' farmhouse, the renovated farmhouse, and the red rustic farmhouse, which you can actually all see in the distance behind this farmhouse, which I think I'm calling it the Peachy farmhouse. I know that the siding is technically orange, but no matter what the lighting is on this lot in this world, it looks like more of a peach color, so I thought it was kind of a cute idea, especially because this one is a little bit brighter than the others, and there are actually flower boxes on the windows that kind of tie that kind of like cottagey feel almost together. So I thought it was a cute name. You guys will have to let me know what you think, if you would call it anything else. But the structure itself actually took a lot longer to put together because I didn't use the same kind of, I suppose, layout as the other farmhouses that I did. The other ones have like a wrap around porch to at least one side of the structure, where this one actually has a porch in the front and then a mirrored porch in the back. So the front and the back are pretty much identical, and to be honest, as I was furnishing it, I confused the front and the back a lot, so I had to like go back and forth and make sure that I was actually putting the right things on the right side of the build. So that was kind of funny. That's never actually happened to me before. I kept on getting confused by it, so I thought it was hilarious. I was getting a little frustrated while I was doing it, but afterwards the thought of it was pretty funny. And here I'm just kind of sorting out the windows. It did take a while for the structure to come together because it was a little bit different. I was really trying to get down a certain look, and I had to kind of play around with the proportions of the different rooms and kind of jutting out pieces to ensure that I was nailing it. And I did use the white Seasons windows throughout and kind of like a stone foundation. I thought it was really pretty. I was going to use the brick foundation that matched the fireplace column that I kind of made, but I thought the stone was kind of nice, and not that the foundation matters too much, because what I typically do is I cover the foundation with a lot of landscaping anyway, which I believe, after I kind of sort out the porch stuff here, is I think I have to bring it back down and do the landscaping, because you guys have probably experienced this before as well. When you go and do landscaping when a structure is already lifted to a certain foundation height, you can't get the plants as close to the foundation as you can when it's just ground level. So if you guys didn't know that, if you are just kind of starting to build, or if you were kind of wondering why that is, that's why. So figured I'd share that little tidbit of information, I suppose. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start on the landscaping here. So I do just put some hedges, I believe, in the front, some low-lying plants to give it a little bit more depth, and just some daisies, because those daisies are actually really cute. I kind of found myself getting bored with using a lot of the same flowers, and I haven't used those daisies a lot, nor have I used these sunflowers too often, so I thought it was a nice opportunity to kind of put the two together. And I do go ahead and I take, I believe that's a hawthorn tree, and then these are like the American, oh, those aren't the American birch trees. these trees are the ones that you'll see surrounding the world in Newcrest, so I've used them on every single farmhouse lot on this street because I really like my builds to mesh in with the world around it. As I've probably said in, I don't know, every single build, but I figured I'd always mention it because the builds on the street are all very similar because of that very, very reason. So I wanted to, one, blend into the world, and two, the idea of what this neighborhood was something that I wanted to ensure I stuck with. So yeah. So here we're going to the back of the build and finishing up the landscaping as well. And it actually is very simple. I really just do use some flowers and those hedges pretty much throughout because those hedges are a really nice way to fill in a lot of landscaping space. And just tossing in some flowers here and there makes it look a little bit more natural, at least in my opinion. Because if it looks way too manicured, it almost looks kind of fake. So I try to blend a lot of different flowers together to nail that more natural kind of, I don't know, not chaotic, but kind of just that natural look. The way that wildflowers and stuff would kind of just grow on their own, maybe near a structure on a piece of land or something like that. And now I'm just adding flower boxes to all of the windows because I thought it was a nice little touch to add some pops of yellow to the kind of peachy siding that we have here. And I do kind of actually add some rocks around the landscaping too, which I've done here and there. I don't do it too often, but I thought it was kind of a nice touch. And then I move on to the backyard and I do toss some trees back there as well. And I didn't fence off the backyard, but I do make this little tiny pathway, which I kind of keep, kind of don't keep. I keep it, but I don't keep the fencing there, and I do just kind of change it a little bit. And I sort out the backyard prior to even moving inside the rest of the house, and I wanted to make sure that I had some activities out there. So I do put this picnic table with the umbrella because it does get rather sunny in their backyard, and I wanted to make this little sandbox because from what I heard, if we use sand in the other worlds now, they can still build sand sculptures or little sand castles and whatnot in that sand. So I wanted to try it, and when I play tested it, I realized I didn't have a playtest toddler or child, so I made my adult do it because it doesn't really matter, and it seemed to work. So hopefully it works for you guys as well if you do have Island Living. I think that had to have come with Island Living, right? I don't think it ended up being a base game like action. I don't know. But now we are on the inside of the structure, and considering that I made 2 entryway points to the house that were literally mirror images of one another, it was kind of challenging to come up with a floor plan. So I ended up using half walls just to centralize things a little bit. And the upstairs floor plan was also a little awkward. This ends up being a 2-bedroom, I think 3-bathroom home, if my memory is serving me correctly. It's been a little while since I put this together, so I apologize if I sound a little uncertain, but I believe it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and I really wanted it to be a 3-bedroom, but I just could not make it work. I couldn't do it because it was really hard to find a place for the stairs to begin with that didn't kind of, I don't know, where they weren't in the center of a room, especially with these two, like with the entryway and then the back entryway. It was just really challenging. So that's what it ends up being. I suppose if you wanted to play around with the floor plan, if you did download this build, you might be able to get a 3rd bedroom in there that you'd be happy with. I just couldn't find something that I was comfortable with. But here we're doing the front entryway, and I do put some dog treats up there because I was picturing this household did have a family dog. I don't put a dog bed here though because I typically don't. The dogs in The Sims, as well as the cats, do not prioritize their pet beds over like the couch or even a bench outside on patios. So I don't even bother with pet beds if I put a pet in the household. So, I mean, like I said, you could always add one if you do download this, but that's not really a priority for me. And here I was kind of struggling with the curtains because the windows and the size curtains in that swatch just did not work. And you can see like these are just like bouncing all over the place, but they were the orange and yellow that I was kind of going for, so I did use them. They might look a little awkward, so I don't know, I kind of had to force myself to be comfortable with them at first, but I think it came together pretty nicely. I did want to go with kind of this blue because there was the orange in the pillows, but I ended up switching this couch out for the Seasons couch in a swatch that I haven't used before, so that was kind of exciting. I haven't used this really bright orange and yellow with these bright green pillow swatch before, but it tied in perfectly with the curtains. I mean, they came with the same pack, so I'm assuming that is pretty much the intent, but I thought it was kind of really nice. It was really bright and warm and inviting. So I do toss 2 of those couches here because we don't have like a 3-tile wide one. So I used the 2 of the 2-tile wide ones, and I just place a chair there with a lamp near the fireplace. And I put a little end table on this side, and I just kind of clutter it up with like a light, a plant, maybe a tissue box, something like that. I just kept it pretty simple. I didn't want this to be an extremely cluttered family home, though I did want it to look lived in because the family I was envisioning living here, I wanted it to just be a couple and their teenage daughter. The room kinda sorta looks like it's designed for either, the daughter's room I should say, it looks like it's kind of designed for like a child or a teenager, so you could play around with that if you wanted to, but I was thinking it was a teenager. Maybe she literally just turned like 13, if we're thinking of an age that would be appropriate, so maybe she is kind of on the cusp there. So I did add kind of those. Well, actually, no, I was thinking she was a child. Scratch that. I was thinking she was a child, but maybe, like I said, on the cusp of becoming a teenager, because I do add some child elements. So I put these little chairs in the corner and a bookshelf, and I add one of these cute little rugs, little area rugs, because it's very girly, and I use those little child art supplies too, so it's kind of all coming back to me now, so maybe I should have watched this prior to doing the voiceover, but I was just really excited to share it, so here we are. And I do add the Don't Wake the Llama table, so I don't use this a lot. I think the last time I did use it was in my fish hook bar build in Sulani because I thought it was a nice bar game, but I don't use it a lot, especially in family homes, just because it's kind of a big object with the 4 chairs and whatnot, but I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do so because I didn't know how else to fill that space. So I thought that was kind of a nice little family game that they could all play together. And here I'm just cluttering up this little shelf that's on the fireplace with some cards and some other knickknacks. And now here's kind of the back entryway, and that door leads to the bathroom downstairs. So I do just put a rug that is pretty much identical to the one in the front, and just some little seating areas and another side table with some random clutter. And that's pretty much it. I didn't really want it to have a specific purpose. It's just another seating area towards the back of the build. And then I put some artwork above that little sofa there, as well as this little side table. And then I move on to the kitchen once I kind of decided that the living room looked good enough. And the kitchen was super, super awkward. You guys will have to tell me what you think of this, because this was a struggle. I did not do very well with this kitchen at first. I was really kind of nervous because I was like, I don't understand how I'm gonna make this work. It's so awkward. This seemed to be the only place for the staircase, but at the end of the day, I was thrilled with how it came out, even though it is a little congested. So the fridge and the stove are on that side. There are 2 countertops over there on the other side of the stairs, and then I use these kind of like bar top, I think they're like the bar top countertops, basically the ones that you could put bar stools at, and I put that there with the sink, so it does break it up a little bit. It allows some like flow of traffic through the household, and the dining section can then be over there in that little nook near the windows. So I made it work. If you guys like that layout, let me know, because it was one that I have not done before, and I haven't really been faced with having to do a layout like that in probably a really long time, or never. So it was kind of unique, and I was a little nervous about it, but I do really like the way it came out. And now I'm just adding some kitchen clutter. So there's like the spice rack, there's this kind of canned food on top of the microwave, and I was thinking that book there, whenever I place it next to a stove, I always think that it's like a recipe book that a sim is keeping by hand, and I always really like that idea. It makes it very homey and warm, and I don't know, give some character to the Sims as well, and maybe the family dynamic. And then I added some bags of coffee, the little milk jug, and a mug near the coffee maker. And I do put this little drying rack for dishes and whatnot, and the little handprint decorative plate that came with Parenthood. And here's the little dining section. Like I said, I did playtest this so they can get to the chairs on the other side nearest the wall, even though they do look a little cramped. And then I add this shelf here, clutter it up with some plants and some other decorative items, and I hang a painting below it, one that I sized down from Cats and Dogs, because I thought it was cute. I wanted to put one above the little shelf unit here, but there just didn't really seem to be the space to do that appropriately and in a way that wouldn't block off a Sim's access to the other side of the table. So I just put one below it, and I still think it looks pretty cute. cute. I really liked how it came out. And this is where I put a wastebasket and the little dog bowls with a little mat and a little decal too, with a little bone being buried, because I used to use that element a lot when I was actually decorating where the dog dishes or cat dishes were. And I haven't used it in a while, so I thought it was cute. And now I'm working out the downstairs bathroom, which is a full bathroom. So there is a toilet, sink, and a shower. And I just kind of lightly decorated. It is kind of like a soft pinky, soft kind of wood vanilla tone to it as well. And now I'm just swapping out the lights, which in the screenshots you will notice that I did change them to the bright white light. So I'd never ever keep this kind of like dull yellow, because I don't know, it doesn't look as natural to me. I feel like a lot of lights in a lot of homes are kind of that bright white light, and you only see the kind of yellow light maybe in bedrooms, but even there I don't keep it, because mainly for the sake of screenshots it looks really dim. Because for some reason, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, so do any of you use Reshade when you play The Sims? Because I use Reshade, which basically allows you to add presets to change like the coloring and whatnot of your game as you're playing, which is why my game is so bright. If you guys have been wondering that, it's because I use Reshade, and I use a preset by Harrie, and it's Lightbrigade, so I can actually link that down below as well. This is actually gonna have a lengthy description with a lot of links to things and stuff. But yeah, so when I take screenshots, it doesn't take screenshots with the preset, even though the recording is with the preset. So I don't know if I'm just like technologically inept, but it never works, and I don't know why. Maybe I have to use like the print screen function on my computer compared to just pressing C to get a screen capture of the game. I don't know if that'll kind of make a difference, but I thought it was kind of weird. So anyway, that's why I don't use the dim yellow lighting in any part of the build, because when I'm taking screenshots, I want them to be as bright as possible. I don't really use anything to brighten up all of my screenshots. I just kind of alter the thumbnail that I use for any video, and that's about it. But here we are back to the build. So we're in kind of like this little hallway that does lead to all of the bedroom access. There was a little landing area too with just a couch, and looks like a little kind of storage unit for some linens and whatnot. And then in this little hallway there is the computer and those jerseys above the bed. I was thinking maybe Dad is in the athletic career, and that's kind of like his little office space. I was thinking that he was either, you know, a very high-ranking kind of athlete, or that he basically like wrote for a sports magazine or something, which is why he has the desk in the first place with the computer, and like he does some form of writing. And this was actually before I decided that it was going to be a daughter that this family had, because I was going with kind of like this darker theme. And then I found this rug and I just couldn't resist. I love that rug. I love that color. And this dresser here has a very similar color to that. So I just went with it. It was kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of like is that a magenta? Or it's just kind of like a dark pink-ish. I'm not really sure what you'd call it, but this is when I do switch out everything to make it for a girl instead of a boy, which of course, no matter how you play, you could definitely make this a boys' room too. There's no limits on this, but I was just envisioning that they had a daughter. And I don't make the room very cluttered. So typically for a child or teenager's room, I do clutter it up a lot, because I feel like children and teens are very messy, very unorganized at best, but I do give their daughter a keyboard, and I was going to give her a mic, but I end up putting a bookshelf here instead, and just this painting here. So maybe this is like her favorite singer, or it's from her favorite movie, because I think she does want to be a musician of some sort, which is why she has the keyboard, or it's just because her parents forced her to take some kind of extracurricular activity and she chose to just play the piano ever since she was a little kid. And then I just do this lamp and a little chair, and that's pretty much it. She doesn't have too much, but there is the toy chest downstairs in the living room, and of course the Don't Wake the Llama table, and there's a swing set and everything outside, as well as the dollhouse and the sand pit, or the sandbox. So there are a few things for this child sim to do. And now I move on to the parents' bedroom, which is actually fairly dark. So I do use this cats and dogs bed because I love it. And I added a fireplace in their bedroom, which I thought was a little different. I've never done that before, and I thought it was a great opportunity to do so since I made one downstairs, and that column there was basically for the fireplace. So I thought that was kind of neat, and I go with a very blue color scheme for the parents' bedroom, and I use the cats and dogs curtains as well. And I just add basically some lamps. I use the little iPad, or what's supposedly the iPad. I forget what they call it. It's like the tablet. I think it's like the scablet? Something like that. I forget the actual name of it in the game. I was trying to think of it and I couldn't think of it, but anyway, so I was going to add these 2 chairs here by the fireplace, but there's no way to comfortably get both of them in there, especially with that door to their bathroom and trying to get to the other side of the bed too. It just wasn't going to work, so I just tossed one chair in the corner there and add basically this little love seat is what it's actually considered at the end of the bed, so they can't sit on that, even though I was thinking it was mainly for storage. And then I add just a blue toned little rug there and clutter up this little shelf as well, just like I did with the one downstairs in the living room. I add some books, a candle, a plant, and I think just like a tissue box. Nothing too crazy because I didn't think it was really a place where they're displaying too many things. But I did actually have to move the fireplace too because a lot of objects clip to the top of it. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that, but that's kind of weird. I haven't seen that really happen too much before. And this is when I decided that I hadn't done a walk-in closet in some time. So I grab an archway and I just make this little tiny walk-in closet. So their dresser is in there. I hang some of these wall decoration clothing items. I add a shoe rack and I add some folded clothes on top of the dresser, as well as some, I think, just like hair products, that little basket of towels, and that's pretty much it. They can use the dresser, though sometimes it may not work, so fair warning, sometimes when you add objects on top of a dresser, basically using the move objects cheat, you can't access the dresser. And it's like the weirdest thing in the world because sometimes it prevents them from accessing it, and then the next day you go to try it again and it works just fine. So I don't really know why that is, but hopefully it does work for you guys. If it doesn't, you may just have to take those objects off the top. And then I just add a bookshelf here with a plant next to it, and then I'm just swapping out all of the lights upstairs, and now I'm going to work on the parents' bathroom. And then the last thing I actually do inside the house is the daughter's bathroom as well, because she actually has her own bathroom, which is pretty unique. But the parents' bathroom does have the shower and tub combo, so mom and dad can relax and take a bath if they want. And the daughter's bathroom does just have a shower. And I go with kind of a, I don't know, kind of like a purpley, softer tone to the bathroom, because like I said, she's on the cusp from being a child to a teenager, so it's still a little childish, but it is also extremely girly. And that was pretty much it for the inside. And then I head outside and I want to kind of clutter up the porches, so I add some seating areas outside, and I do use this lovely Seasons couch in a bright yellow because it contrasted the orange/peachy look that we have on the siding on the outside. And I add some plants and some more seating, and on the back I do add, I think, a little bit more seating, but I mainly add a grill as well because I wanted to make sure that they had a place to actually prepare food since I have a picnic table out in the yard. But I do add this very small seating area as well in the corner because I thought it was sweet. Maybe mom or dad could sit out there. And that's pretty much it for the build, so I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I'm going to share a screenshot of the whole completed street here soon, and I'll catch you guys next time I post a video. Talk to you soon. Bye!
You look back and I look back, we don't see the same thing. It's time that we just let it die. Oh, I can find a higher